Hello, everybody. Um, I kind of wanted to talk to you all. I am planning on doing another recording of gameplay, um, uh, Chef RPG, and uploading it to channel possibly tomorrow. Um, but I wanted to talk to you guys about something. I wanted to share a little bit about what's going on. Um, in my life and all that. And don't worry, everything's fine. I mean, for the most part, everything's fine. You know, just trying to get through to the end of the month and then keep gets paid again. I've been trying to job hunt, and it's it's turned out to be way more complicated than I thought it would be, which kind of sucks. But in a way, I'm trying to look at it in the way of maybe the universe wants me to focus on this more right now. Focus on YouTube, focus on you guys. Um, but, we'll see. Anyway, um, so I'm a little nervous about recording this. I'm just a little nervous as to what consequences there might be for me later, but um, as you guys will understand, I've gone through the proper channels, and as far as I'm aware, nothing's changed, nothing's happened, so I am going to talk about it on here. You know. So, basically, as you guys know, if you followed me for a while, you know that for years I have participated in a lot of role playing sites online. I did Charm site. That's where I met my best friend Amanda. I have been for the last, gosh, I don't even know how many years it's been, but I have been on this Marvel site. Um, and like, here's the thing, because I used to, before I joined the Marvel site, I used to be a part of a hero site that was run, or the admin was the same person who started the Marvel site. I don't know if she started it around the same time or if the Marvel site came later, but regardless, I have participated in both sides. Matter of fact, on the hero side was where um I met Keith's best friend and his wife, and I met Keith. And I made other friends, on there that I still talk to this day. On a Discord that we started up so that we can catch up with each other and all that, and do some posting, here and there, kind of like. Um, but yeah, so I was on that site for quite a few years. And then that site ended up dying out. Like, a lot of people got busy with life, or they got to the point where, like, they couldn't go any further with their characters and all that. So Keith and I remember, because Keith and I weren't physically in the same location at that point, we were trying to decide what to do. So Keith found this site that the admin is the same person who used to run the hero site, and he talked to me about it, and he was like, "It's Marvel, so you may not know as much about it, but when we joined together." And so we did, and we've been a part of this site for, I can't even think of how many years it's been. It's been a while. And so, and like I do have to confess that one of the problems with role playing sites is that they tend to go through cycles. And one of the rules that we had on the hero site, and that is also a part of the Marvel site, is real life takes precedence. So if you post and say, "Hey guys, I'm going to be moving," or "I'm going through a hard time," or "need somebody," or whatever, we always say, "Take your time." You know, the problem with that, though, is that if you are in a lot of threads that, I'm not talking anybody specific here, just in case when y'all come across this video, but, if you're in a lot of threads with people, especially in multiplayer threads where a lot of people are posting in order, it's like we're waiting for that particular person to come back and start posting. And it's like, I get it, real life does take precedence. I totally understand that. Out of everything in life, a role playing site is pretty low on the priorities bar. I get that. I definitely do. But at the same time, it is a bit frustrating to have to wait and wait and wait and be like, "What's going on?" And try to be patient, try to be understanding, you know, and but at the same time, it's like I can think of a couple of threads on the Marvel site as right now that I'm currently waiting for somebody to come back and post so that I can post. And again, I understand real life is more important than writing thread, but at the same time, I don't work outside the house. You know, I do a lot of housework, laundry, typical housewife stuff. I mean, maybe not typical, I don't know, but you know, I'm I'm basically the person who takes care of the house, who washes most of the dishes, who collects the trash, takes it down to the bins, does all that stuff. I'm not saying I wouldn't do that because I totally, I don't mind doing it. I totally am okay with doing that. I'm totally okay with organizing stuff and, setting stuff right if it falls over or whatever. But, but again, like I said, the problem is that a lot of, and waiting for people to post, that's part of role playing. You have to, you're not in charge of the entire story. You have to wait for other people to post and all that. And that's fine, perfectly okay. I'm not saying get back right now and post, even though you're upset or whatever, or you're going through stuff. No, of course not. But, it is hard sometimes to be patient, especially when you're like me and I don't have a job outside of the house and I don't, and I've been trying. I've been looking for work and like there are places like um yesterday, Tuesday, I was out in town along High Street, um, getting my medications, and, just browsing, just looking, I saw at least a couple of places that had stickers in their window, we're hiring for the holidays. And I tried looking it up on their website, and I can't find anything about it. So it's like, I don't know. I don't know what's going on, but like, I'm still trying. I'm still trying to find something part time that I can do to earn a little bit of money so that I can, if I want to go get snacks, I can go get snacks, or if I want to go get, you know, and thankfully Keith takes care of me and he makes sure, that I'm okay and that I have a little bit of extra money in case, like right now we're running low on Diet Coke, which is what the two of us usually drink. And, he's going shopping later, but he gave me a bit of spending money so I could go across the street to the little corner store and get something if I needed to. Um, I also have water, which I'm trying to drink more of, trying to be more healthy, and that can be kind of difficult at times. But anyway, that's not really what I'm here to talk about, although it kind of corresponds. Um, but basically, so I'm part of this site. So the problem is, my main problem with the site right now is we have this one player who is, and we have our own Discord. I may not mention that we have our own Discord that we're on. This person, I don't know if they're male, female, non-binary. I don't know what. I've never seen them. I have no idea what they look like or anything like that. So I'm gonna call them they for this purpose, to cover all bases, so to speak. But so this person, this player, is like on always on the Discord and like always takes charge of, always has to be in charge, in my opinion, always has to be in charge of any plots that go on. Like if you're plotting something or if you want to do something, like this person always has to be in charge of it. And like one thing that really really irritates me, like we used to have a full set of moderators. We had our administrator, and then we had at least 4 mods. Little by little, the mods have dropped off. The mods have like disappeared with like no explanation, no, no, whatever, no explanation, no, sorry, God, no final message, nothing like that. they just dropped off. So now we're down to one moderator, and I do have to give him, because I think it's a he, I do have to give him credit because he does, I think, the very best job that he can. And usually, if I come to him and I have a question or whatever, he'll explain it to me in a way that I can understand as somebody who doesn't usually follow the Marvel comics and all that. So he'll explain, like, for example, um, this happened about a month or so ago. Me and another player on the site were wrapping up a thread that we were doing together, and this other player contacted me via private message and was like, I have an idea for an alternative universe, an AU, basically we call it, thing for Dazzler and Gwenpool, which Dazzler's character I play, Gwenpool is what this other person plays. Um, so this, where they come back to a world that's been infected by the Marvel zombie virus. And so I needed a little explanation because I didn't know what that was. And after being told about it, I was like, yeah, sure, let's go for it. Let's do it. Well, apparently, the moderator, the one moderator we have left, found out and was like, no, you guys can't do that. And I missed, because when you join the Marvel site, there's like, I forget what they call it, like the Prime Directive or whatever it is. It's like you have the rules. Well, apparently I missed where the original administrator of the group put in the we're not to do a Marvel Zombies thread, just because it's so powerful. Apparently, this virus is so powerful that there's no way to contain it. And this moderator is worried about, even if it's in an alternate universe, he's worried about what would happen because Gwynpool, the character who the other person plays, has a portal gun. And that's how that's how the whole mix up happened and how our characters ended up in this weird other universe. And so, and yeah, I was looking forward to it. I don't normally do zombie related stuff just because I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of zombie media. And, that's fine. But I was willing to give it a try with this other person. And so, well, what happened was he didn't even, contact either me or the other player who were doing this. We were talking about it, or the other player was talking about it. I can't remember exactly, but discussion was being held in the Discord in the plot thread. Because I think we were at the point where our two characters were getting ready to head out and see if there are any survivors. So we were testing to see if anybody else was interested. Well, the moderator saw that and immediately was like, no Marvel Zombies. So I didn't understand. So I went ahead and messaged the moderator myself, and I was like, can you explain to me what the issue is. And like I said, this moderator did a great job. They explained to me everything and was like, this is, this reason why. And it's been a rule that's been set in place by the person who started this forum, and I'm not going to go against it. And I was like, totally understandable. I get it. So I talked with the other player about it, and we're trying to work out something else, um, so that we can continue with the thread, but maybe not have it be zombies. Um, but then I was on the Discord, and this is where it's kind of partly my fault because I don't always hang out in the Discord. Like, I'll have the Discord up. Like, usually I have 2 pages up. I have the I have Discord so I can see the ones I'm in and, participate if anything new pops up. But I don't always, I'm not always active. Usually I'm on YouTube or I'm on AO3 or I'm doing something else. And where it's not necessarily that I'm actively paying attention to what's going on in Discord. Well, Discord kind of comes and goes in waves. Like, it'll have times where there's a lot of people talking and a lot of people planning stuff, and then there are days when, like today, when hardly anything is being said. And and that's another reason why I don't usually, like, I'll have the Discord up, but I won't really be, like, actively participating because there's nothing to participate with. And like, the other hard thing is, like, if you're in the plotting thread, usually, like, after talking with somebody generally for a while, I'll, like, move it away from the plotting and I'll talk to that person directly via PM. And I'll be like, hey, I'm really interested in doing something like this. What do you think? And we'll talk about it on there. And then if we need extra help, we'll move it back to the plotting thread and we'll be like, hey, anybody want to help us with doing this? And so, I don't know. Like, I'm just. Like, it's frustrating because I know a lot of it can't be helped. I know a lot of it is people have real life stuff going on. People can't just be hanging out. And I realize I'm one of the few probably on site that is able to hang out in the Discord on a regular basis. But like I said, there's this one player who it just seems like they, number one, have to be in charge of every plot that gets discussed. Like, if you bring it up, we have 2 plotting threads. One for site-wide events and then others for just general plotting. And it's like this person, they have to be in charge of every plot that they see. They immediately take it all and then they're like, oh, I'll write something up, or I'll do a section for this, or I'll whatever. Well, here's the thing that bothers me. So, this player, also likes to, like, when they are on the Discord, when they are talking and plotting and all their plots are these huge, convoluted. Everybody on site has to be involved, even if it's not a site-wide plot, and they have to be it basically has to be approved by this one player, and it has to go the way the one player thinks it should go. So, and as for an example, we're currently doing um, a thread where Captain America. Well, it started out with Captain America and just Captain America and Hawkeye against a bunch of NPCs who are trying to tear down Mutant Town, the place where apparently where all the mutants live that don't go to Xavier's school, which I'm still confused about because, like I said, I've never read comics that mention Mutant Town or anything like that. I only know from, like, the cartoons, the X-Men cartoon that played in the 90s, the, whatever, like, all the 90s stuff, and then the X-Men movies that came out a while later with Hugh Jackman as Wolverine and all that, and so I'm just, I don't know, I don't know as much of the comics as some of these people do, but that's the other thing. It's like, this one player, everything has to be accurate to the comics. It's like, it can't deviate from the comics, even though a lot of their plots deviate from the comics, or at least as far as I'm aware. Like I said, I don't know a whole lot about the comics, but I'm just like, there's literally, like, he tried to claim in the beginning of the thread that S.H.I.E.L.D. sent a bunch of soldiers under this one guy who I don't even know was a real character who's played or if it's just an NPC. But yeah, and, like, it turns out that this dude in charge of the S.H.I.E.L.D., whatever, and, like, the other thing is, what I find funny is the gal who plays Hawkeye, we're doing a thread where Hawkeye and Mockingbird are dating, which they did date and get married, I think, in the comics. We're doing it sort of different from that. We're sort of following a different timeline than exactly the way the comics did it. But, so, like, she private messaged me, and she was like, hey, can you join this thread? Because it's insanely overpowered on one side at this point. And so I was like, yeah, absolutely. So I bring my S.H.I.E.L.D. agent, Mockingbird, aka Bobby Morse, into the thread. And, like, almost immediately it comes out that because it's a period of time where Tony Stark is in charge of S.H.I.E.L.D. I have no idea where Nick Fury went. I have no idea if he's up in space at this current time in the timeline. All I know is that he's not in charge of S.H.I.E.L.D. And so I'm like, okay, so we're working with Tony Stark. So apparently, this guy, according to the plot of this current thing that's going on, we are trying. Um, he got a message from Tony Stark, but it was a hologram. And then once Mockingbird showed up and was like, what the heck is going on? Why are you attacking civilians? You shouldn't be doing this. Stand the F down. So it turns out that this guy, this soldier dude, who I don't, like I said, I don't even know if he's actually being played, if he's an actual character on site, or if he's just made up by this one player. It's like we finally calmed down and realized that it was a setup, apparently, that somebody, probably Hydra, but we haven't gotten that far yet, has, use AI to make it look like Tony Stark was giving these orders. And I'm even just like, that doesn't explain everything anyway. I mean, you're a grown man. You lead a battalion, whatever, of soldiers. You should be able to make your own decision. And that's very, very, very close to my opinions on real life politics happening in the United States. So I'm going to veer away from that. For right now. But, yeah, so basically, and like I said, that's one of the main reasons why I don't normally participate why sometimes I miss stuff is because it's just this one player, for the most part, taking control of any and all plots that get brought up. And then they are told, and then it's like, but they always go the same plots. Like, everyone has to get involved. They always moan and complain about nobody's participating. And so I don't know if they thought they could get around it this time by using a bunch of NPCs. But again, I don't think that's the way these threads are supposed to work. They're supposed to be players working together to, do things. As right now, the thread has stalled because one of our players had a real life incident issue come up. And so she's off-site at the moment, but then this whole thing happened, and I was kind of paying attention back when it was being discussed in the playing thread, but the player who is currently one of the few players who is willing to work with me one-on-one, and we've gotten to have a pretty good friendship. I don't know what you would call it, but we do tend to work together fairly well. Was talking about making over Carol Danvers. um into an Asgardian, and I was like, well, is that part of the comics? And they were like, sort of, kind of taking some liberties, but yeah, you'll eventually be an Asgardian. So, but here's the thing. I kid you not, the very middle of this thread, you know, like the other dude, the dude who likes to take over plots that are that are being discussed, all of a sudden a couple of Asgardians, rogue Asgardians from my interpretation, come down from Midgard. I don't even remember. I'm sorry. I'm a bad Marvel fan, I guess, because I don't remember all the names and everything, but they came down from where Thor and Loki and Odin and Freya and all that normally reside. They came down from there to Earth. And and they're trying to take over, but like, because the thread wasn't going the way he wanted, this one player wanted, and like, this one player always wants to cause as much chaos and destruction as they can. And so it's just frustrating because some of us don't want that. We want like sparring. We want like just normal general fights. We want maybe even slightly overpowered fights, where the heroes can easily subdue the villains or whatever. Or put it in an area that's not going to cause a lot of damage. But this was in the middle of Uniontown where people are getting hurt. And the other thing that really made me mad was the same players playing Captain America, who's, supposed to be all pure and virtuous, and like, somebody gets hurt in our thread, and instead of taking care of it himself, he tells Mockingbird to bandage this person up. I went along with it, but, thinking back, I'm like, I should just turn back to Steve Rogers or whatever, and like, are your hands broken? You can't bandage this person? It's like, I'm trying to fight. I'm trying to figure out what is going on. And then all of a sudden, a voice from the heavens comes out, says some menacing stuff, and then it's all, come back, my warriors, the time is not right, or something like that. And so, now the Asgardians just left, but they left a huge mess that we as heroes have to clean up. And it's like, and probably gonna get blamed for, where's the hero's fault that this happened, And it's like, do y'all not want to be protected? Because, I mean, forgive the Marvel blasphemy, but we heroes want to go about our normal lives. We have normal lives that we want to get back to, and we drop everything to help people, and then we get treated like crap. And it's like, but again, I'm not going to get into that too terribly deep, because then that will lead into a rant about the movies and about Captain America Civil War or the Avengers Civil War. I don't remember what it was called. I'm sorry. But I have issues with movies. Um, but yeah. So, and now this guy wants to wrap up the thread because apparently he's not allowed, they're not allowed to cause massive chaos and destruction like they want to. And so I'm just like, but again, it's like this one person, this one player has to be in charge. This one player has decided that they have to be in charge of any and all plots that happen. And the other thing that really pissed me off is because the player who I've been playing with told me that they are becoming less and less motivated to post, And it's like, I could totally get that. I totally understand that. And but at the same time, this is one of, like, I have a very small list of people on this forum that I know legitimately that I can be like, hey, you want to post this? Or, hey, why don't we do a thread about this? Or whatever. Like, and it frustrates me because I'm being hugely frustrated with this thread that's going on with this one player just taking over as usual. And like I said, playing, like, I don't know if any of the characters except for Captain America, like, I know this person plays Captain America, but that's like the only one out of everybody else that this person is playing in this thread. There's one that I know for sure that this person has applied to play as, And like, you have to apply, you have certain post requirements that you have to make, and then once you reach like a certain number, you get to add another character to your roster. So I know they recently applied for Captain America. But like, none of the other characters, as far as I'm aware, are listed on any of our sites, accepted characters, anything like that. So they're all NPCs. They're all people who this player just decided, I'm gonna play all these people. And like, it pisses me off, number one, because like I said, I had gotten to the point where, because I used to participate in these players over the top, everybody has to post threads. And I got used to them just freezing, just stopping, or like people would leave the site, or people would have problems and they would need to go away on a leave of absence. and then would render the thread stuck in the middle. None of these threads would finish. And so I talked to one moderator we had. I explained how I felt. I explained the situation. I said, I don't know what to do. I don't know what's going on. I don't know, you know. And, like, not to say that I want this moderator to come down on this player and be like, you know, you can't do anything anymore. But it's like, seriously, it's not fair what he's doing. And he's like, I remember one of the questions I was asked by this moderator was, well, is this player god modding? Which is when you take other, like if Mockingbird and Captain America got into a fight, god modding would be like Captain America swung a punch and landed, or blocked Mockingbird's move on him, or whatever. It's like, you can't do that. You can't dictate what another character does. And that goes both ways. And usually that works just fine. And it makes fights interesting in the Marvelverse, because then you're like, it looks like in the movies where it's like, you don't know what's coming, but you have the opportunity to react to that. But like, so it's not God modding what he's doing in this thread, but at the same time, it comes awfully close. Because this player isn't using characters that he is entitled to play. He's got all these other NPCs that he's in charge of. I'm sorry, I switched to he, but not that I don't want to like I said, I'm pretty sure it's a guy, but I'm not 100% sure it's a guy. I could be surprised. It could be a woman. Could be, somebody like me who's posting. I don't know. But, like, I'm pretty sure I've seen people use he, him pronouns with him. So, anyway. But yeah, I was trying to be nice, but as you can kind of tell, I've gotten a little bit, my emotions have been heightened, let's put it that way. So, I guess I'm just kind of, and here's the other weird thing, is that I'm in the middle of telling the one moderator about all this and about my frustrations, and they did ask a couple of questions and all that, but then there wasn't okay, don't worry about it, I'll take care of it, I'll talk to this other player. Nothing. They just disappeared, went offline for a while, at least from Discord, and so it's like, I don't know if they talked to the other player, I don't know what's going on, and after talking to a couple other people, I'm just like, the Discord is pretty dead. And like I've got a couple other threads going that I can post in, and that's it. Like, and when I say a couple, I mean like two. Like there are two threads currently ongoing that I can post in. And again, like I said, it's not the biggest thing in the world. It doesn't come close to like real life politics or anything like that, but at the same time, I am hugely frustrated and I am not knowing what to do. I mean, it got to the point earlier this week where because, like I said, one of the very first role playing sites I was on was Charmed thread, where I got to play some really cool OCs, original characters. And so I was looking to see if there are any other charm sites out there, because if there are, and if they're active, last time I checked, there weren't any, like, still active ones I could find, but I found one that kind of intriguing, but also kind of worrying, because they have a site, but it's more of like a website that like goes into everything, but like they do the role playing in Discord, which number one I've never done before, and number two makes me nervous because unless I can see the Discord, I can't tell how active it is. I can't tell if they have like some of the same issues that we are having right now. I don't know. And like, and I'll keep looking and see if maybe there's a way I can get a glimpse into this Charm Discord. Because it sounds, according to the website, it sounds like it would be really good. And on the plus side, it focuses on OCs, original characters. It's not just focusing on the Halliwell family, which, again, the Halliwell family is pretty big as it is, considering there are three sisters, each sister's husband, each sister has several kids, and all that. And then there are cousins and nieces and nephews and, all that. So I'm not hugely worried about that. But again, at the same time, I'm just a little bit nervous because I can't currently see. Like, according to the website, it looks like they have things organized, they run things well and all that, but I can't see because it's all on the Discord. And I'm like, you know. So, like, I'm not sure what to do there, but I'm also not sure. Like, I do want to keep posting on the Marvel forum when I can, but, like, I only want to post with the few people that will post with me and will work with me and won't just take over a thread and won't just, I'm in charge now, too bad you suck, But yeah, I guess I'm just frustrated because two things. Number one, that, like I wasn't reassured. I wasn't told, don't do anything rash. It's okay. I'll talk to this other person. We'll get it figured out. That kind of thing. Nothing like that. Nothing like, oh, No reassurance, no, I'll take care of it, nothing. I just told them what was going on, and then they disappeared from the site for a while, and they have yet to say anything to me. They have yet to respond to anything, and so. And again, like, I get you're the only moderator left. I understand that. But why are you the only moderator left? Why can't you ask for help? Why can't you? Maybe they're not allowed, which would suck. Especially since the person who started the site is completely gone off the internet. Like, I haven't seen her in years. And it's to the point where, like I said, like, people, like, all of her mods, except for one, just disappeared, just vanished without a word. And it's like, no idea if they're okay, no idea if they're safe, if they're in trouble, if anything's going on. And, like, and that just pisses me off. It's just like, oh, well, we're down to one person. And it's like, why not hold elections? Why not hire some more? Or why not let people volunteer if they want to? I mean, we already have people on the site who basically are the ones who greet the newcomers when they come in. Are always there to be like, hey, welcome to the site. Here's some links you might need, kind of thing. Like, I just don't get it. I don't get why we're running at such a low capacity when we could have help. As a matter of fact, I'm around. I volunteer to distribute. I will be one of those. I'd be more than happy to step up and be a moderator, help greet new people, be around more. I mean, I am. I'm online a lot, and I would be more than willing to be a moderator, but according to one of the few people who I post with trying on a regular basis, this person asked our moderator if they needed any help, and they were immediately shut down. So, and like, I don't know how they asked, or if they were presuming, or if the moderator was scared, well, if this person gets involved, then the site's gonna go this way. And, like, I understand that, but that's why you want to have at least a couple of moderators so that you can have a discussion, and so you can go, okay, this is where we want this to go, or we don't want the site to start going this way, or whatever. It's like, instead of having one person be in charge of all of this stuff. And so, I don't know. Like I said, I'm kind of looking for something else. For another site to be a part of, preferably a charm site, but Like, I don't want to just jump back into another Marvel site. I want to do something different. And like I said, I've always loved Charmed. I've always loved the original series, and, you know, so we'll see. But my thought process on that was to have, um, that way I wouldn't just be involved with one site. That way I could be involved in two sites and I could go back and forth if I need to, or whatever. Or if, God forbid, the Marvel site ends up shutting down at some point, which could happen, I will have somewhere else to go. So I don't know. And then there's the thought process, well, do I want to let other players that I currently post with on Marvel, do I want to let them know what I'm thinking? And do we want to go right on the same side? I don't know. So, but yeah, I'm not getting it anywhere, and it's like, and like, it was active for a while, and I was doing pretty well, and now all of a sudden it's like, it's reached another downturn, where hardly anybody's posting, and all that. And like I said, I understand real life gets in the way. I get it. I do. But on the other hand, I'm like we have a thread on our Discord specifically for if you're needing to take a break from the site, you post there, then people read it, and then they know, okay, this person is going to be on the site for a while, or whatever. But now it's just like, people are just like, excuse me. But now it's just like people are not posting on Discord. People are not posting in the on the RP site itself. And if they are, it's certain people and they're bombastic, over the top threads that only involve certain people. And it's like other people don't get invited or don't get told about it or whatever. And it's like, well, that sucks. That doesn't make it fun for other people. And so, yeah. So, I'm just trying to figure out what to do, and sorry. And just trying to figure out what to do, which path to go on, Do I leave the Marvel site completely? Do I keep it on there but do a lot more on another side? That kind of thing. So, anyway. So that's what I'm doing. But I still do plan on, matter of fact, maybe later on this afternoon I will record more gameplay of the of Chef RPG, and we'll upload it for you guys for the weekend. But I will get this uploaded this afternoon, and we'll get that all taken care of. But yeah. So in the meantime, yeah, just sorry, rambled at you guys for a while, but I just am not sure what to do right now. I'm just not sure what the right thing to do is. Like, do I need to just leave the site? Do I need to let the one moderator that's left know why I'm leaving? If I do that, do I need to just, you know, like, I don't know. So, anyway, if you guys have any ideas or any suggestions for me, you can leave them in the comments if you want to. No pressure, no worries if you don't. But yeah, I just kind of wanted to kind of share what was going on in my heart and what's going on, and you know, I'll get something good for you sorted out tomorrow, hopefully. If not, I will let you know. But in the meantime, again, thank you for letting me express my opinion, express my feelings, and I will talk to you guys later.